presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfro. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball at Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
Now that is the sound you're looking for right there from Jamie. I wonder if Jamie can hear anything right now. It doesn't look like he can, so I am working on something on this end, which shouldn't have happened in the first place. But we're checking on it right here just to make sure. And at the moment, everything does look as though it is fine on our end. Jamie just simply cannot hear. If you guys can't hear me, you can obviously let me know, or it's something going on with Jamie's internet, which I think is actually what's happening. So maybe we can have JB kind of pop out and pop back in, and we'll roll this thing on a Friday edition of the JB and Goldwater Show, driven here by Stokes Volkswagen. And obviously we start where everyone is, well, expecting that we would start. The College World Series last night, it came home to Charleston, and excellent to know that you do hear me, Paul. What's going on? Good to know. We got some technical difficulties. That'll be ironed out here shortly as Jamie pops here back on. So last night, Mississippi State captures its first ever national championship in any team sport, and it was the baseball team in dominating fashion. Will Bednar, no hits through 6 innings. Then it was Landon Sims, who just turned the lights out on Vanderbilt pretty much. It was a dominating performance. Chris Lemonis gets the national championship. Scott Foxall, his pitching coach, with another tie right here to the Charleston area, as we've been discussing all week long. The national championship is now theirs in Starkville, and this is going to make them legends around Hale State. You saw Ron Polk, if you were watching the game last night, a guy who many consider to be much more than just a grandfather or father of Mississippi State baseball, but that of overall college baseball as well. Talked about that a little bit with Mike Morgan. He was there. He was relishing in the moment. So was Dak Prescott, and Mississippi State captures their first team national championship in any sport last night in Omaha in dominating fashion. And we've got multiple pictures, multiple different ways to, I guess, explain the night, if you will. But first and foremost, Jamie, your impressions of last night as Lemonis, Foxall, the Bulldogs take this thing home. Jamie cannot hear still, apparently. What we're going to do is we're going to take a timeout. And when we come back, we are going to work on having Jamie Bradford back with us, and we'll work on also continuing on with the show. It's a good show. We got Grace Raynor coming up for you. We got John Whittle coming up for you. We got Scott Glaze. NIL is now taken effect. That's the big news of the day around the NCAA. NIL has taken effect, and we'll get to that as we roll along in the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Give us a minute. We'll figure this out.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu.
I can't hear anything.
Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemson.
The show's not coming through, and that's
again,
the only reason you can hear me is because I turned my microphone to the
night on Friday, rotating tabs all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Lowcountry. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$16.66 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed Up.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right, local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clemens Ferry Road.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Low Country. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf team. Come see us.
I gotta figure out why I can't hear this on the headset, so don't bring me in yet.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike 2.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, car lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$16.66 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed Up.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clemens Ferry Road.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bourbon and whiskey drinking
here.
Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks.
Yeah, I can hear now.
This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next.
All right, you've all heard these commercials enough. We're just bailing out of him here. And we're going to
Sorry about that.
Back in because now he can hear and he can talk and we're good to go.
I don't even know what happened. I have not adjusted one thing actually in like months. But something happened. Sorry about that, and appreciate y'all hanging in on this Thursday afternoon. Of course, it would happen on the last day before you and I are set to take 4th of July break. We will be back on, what is that, Darren? The 12th. The 12th, yeah. So I apologize, everybody, for that, if there's still anybody out there. Thank you very much. I know that you already mentioned that Grace Raynor, John Whittle, and Scott Glaze are all ahead today. It is NIL day, basically, across the country. Boy, there's a lot of deals going on out there. You seen all this?
So I put together a couple different full screeners. This one's from Front Office Sports, just to show some of the diversity going on with it. It's not just like the marketable quarterback, like you see there in Mackenzie Milton in the middle. You've got Bo Nix, Auburn's quarterback, who's got to deal with Milo's T. The twin Fresno State sisters who are playing basketball, they have something like 650,000 followers on their combined Instagram accounts. They announced this deal in Times Square last night. It's popping everywhere. Darian Wrencher has some interesting things going on, so Grace can get us caught up on that. And I'm very curious about DJ Uiagalelei's, I call it cryptic tweet, but it's from a couple days ago, mentioning how great Delta flies, and then July 1st with like a wink. There has not been a deal announced yet, though.
Yeah, one of the questions I have for Grace is how his predecessors have impacted him, because now being the quarterback at Clemson is a huge deal. Like your name already. He's never been a full-time starting quarterback. He's started games and he's played, and we know he can play. We know that. But with Trevor Lawrence preceding you, Deshaun Watson preceding you, there's now a history. There's a tradition that the quarterback at Clemson is somebody who probably could help sell your product. It's a face. It's everything that NIL is. Obviously, even if they go out and struggle, guess what? That won't matter, but it won't matter because then people will be paying attention. Well, why is this person struggling? Like, you're on the map. All that matters is getting on the map. That's it. That's what name, image, and likeness is. You could be a kicker, and the first 3 games of the year, you kick a game-winning field goal. In each game, as time expires, you're a no-name. You've only made 40% of your attempts in your lifetime. But those 3 went in, and all of a sudden you're marketable. That's it. And then going forward, people will pay attention to you because, well, is this guy going to be able to get one through this game? Whatever it is. So, name, image, and likeness does have something to do with whether you're successful, but it also has more to do with whether you're marketable. And right now, the starting quarterback at Clemson, regardless of success, is very marketable.
I believe it was Darren Ravel who tweeted out, and there are a lot of really good Twitter handles to follow today to stay as up to date as you possibly can on the deals that are coming down and the impacts that these deals can have. But his point was it'll impact recruiting, not because of pay for play, but because of what you were just saying. Wouldn't I, as a lineman, prefer to go to Clemson where the quarterback is one of the most marketable people in the country? And if I'm going to be arm in arm with one of the most marketable people in the country, doesn't that make me more marketable, Mr. 2-3-star offensive lineman that I am? That makes a lot of sense to me, to try and align my brand, my personal business, with another business that is already excelling. So if there is it doesn't have to be quarterback. It doesn't have to be football. This can be basketball. This can be Aaliyah Boston and other South Carolina recruits. This can be Paige Beckers at UConn and other recruits. This can be someone swimming at Stanford alongside Katie Ledecky or the next Kate Ledecky. Anything like that, align your brand with something that's already successful. It makes a whole lot of sense and how that can change the recruiting game.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we'll have to kind of see how things play out. I mean, I don't know that those examples are definitely are going to be as large as maybe we think right now. Maybe they'll be bigger. Maybe they won't be. We don't really know. But the fact here's what the fact is: those conversations weren't being had before. Mm-hmm. You like you just said. You didn't have an offensive lineman before going, well, Clemson or North Carolina. Well, I tell you what, boy, being alongside that Clemson QB, he's got all these national deals. That might help me a little bit. That's never been the case. So, but it could be now. That's the point. Is it could be now. It's the change is real. South Carolina today did release their NIL program for student athletes, which we're going to get to that at 1:00 with John Whittle. It also kind of coincides with a few things that the school has done in the last few years, and now this is all part of one program up in Columbia, the CEO program, the Gamecock CEO program. So there's a lot to get to there. I know that you were hitting on the World Series. I do want to get to that, though, because last night was a blowout, but it was awesome. That was awesome. That was so cool. The energy in that place. Both you and I have attempted today to try to get some folks from the game last night on the air, but as many of you may expect, it's a little difficult right now. It was a late night in Omaha in more ways than one, and they've got flights back and all types of things going on. So when we return to the air on July the 12th is when we'll probably even reach back into this baseball bag and try to recap some things with them. But congratulations to Mississippi State. I mean, that was earned, dude. That was so earned. And I know that there's still going to be a small percentage of the country. Well, we don't know how it could have really been if NC State was in there. That's fine. Vanderbilt didn't play well. Mississippi State did play well in the last 2 games in this series. Let's also remember that Vanderbilt played really damn well all year long. Whether they should or shouldn't have been in there, I don't know. Whether they were worthy of being there, yeah, they were. 3 weeks ago we said Vanderbilt could win the whole thing, right? Why would that have changed now? I mean, they threw Jack Leiter, they threw Kamar Rocker, and they got beat. And everybody said, well, if you throw those two, you're going to win it. Well, guess what? They didn't. Kamar Rocker didn't get out of it last night unscathed at all. They tattooed him, and his career is over. So Mississippi State, is a worthy champion. Chris Lamonis, you could see it and hear it in his voice. Scott Foxhall, our low country guys who are tied to this. That was a great group. It's great for the Magnolia State. I know Ole Miss fans aren't happy about it. I get that. But especially as a Gamecock fan, we know how that feels around here when you win the national championship in baseball and your rival doesn't like it. I get it. But 20+ thousand fans up there. I mean, that just the script was written, Darren. I mean, there was no way I thought they were going to lose that game last night, and they sure didn't.
No, and for a couple of the reasons that I pointed out, the two large ones that I was thinking Mississippi State would end up winning last night, it was Vanderbilt hadn't done anything offensively since the first inning of game one. I mean, nothing. And in the field, they've been bad at the College World Series, and nothing better than bad. I mean, there's no way of sugarcoating it. And they were bad again last night. Vanderbilt did not play like Vanderbilt throughout Omaha. And that, I understand, will have a large portion, if not every NC State fan and others around baseball saying, look, who's to say that NC State couldn't have gotten past Vanderbilt? And that's not what we're saying, because it's certainly possible that NC State could have gotten past Vanderbilt. Once you get to that point, you can't then tell me that NC State certainly would have beaten Mississippi State. You don't know. We don't know. So that's what makes Mississippi State the deserved, worthy, no asterisk national champion. I understand the anger, the angst that isn't going to go away anytime soon around Wolfpack baseball, maybe even bigger than just Wolfpack baseball, because of how poorly Vanderbilt did play. But at the end of the day, man, it's a national championship. I was talking with Fred Jordan, right before the series started, and he said, Lamonis just deserves this. And you could see in the celebration, you could hear in his voice, he was almost crying in his in-game interview, trying to talk about just the bits and pieces of the game. Chris Budden had a report that she was saying something to him and he was getting choked up. And this was an off-camera thing. There's a lot of emotions that went into this, and it's a national championship that will make this team, those guys, forever legends in Starkville.
Yeah, and Bednar. Oh my gosh. I mean, the guy who threw a no-hitter, and he was fighting Fox to stay in there as well. But once they tattooed Vandy later in the game and grew that lead, there was no reason to throw him back out there. He was already at 90 pitches, and they were going to go to Sims, and they did. And Sims was Sims. Down the stretch, 3 innings, 1 hit, and 4 strikeouts, and Mississippi State, here they are. They are national champions, and there are so many guys. I think we mentioned this yesterday. You just like watching play the game. Guys that remind you of old school baseball. I mean, at the top of the lineup, the Jordan kid and the Allen kid, and they just, I love their catcher, the Logan Tanner kid. I mean, the way that they play is the way I like seeing baseball played, especially at this level. It's a bunch of blue-collar guys. They're certainly talented. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, they get after it every day, And so the SEC, I got bad news for those who don't like to hear it. They are still the dominant league in the country, and it's not close. It's just not. There are some elite teams in other leagues, not like this one. I mean, this is just so good. It's so good. And 5 different national champions for the SEC in 12 years. I mean, come on, guys. This isn't just one team that's winning it. It's 5 different ones. I mean, it's really remarkable. 7 championships in 12 years. Only 11 of the last 31 years has there not been an SEC team in the final. I mean, this league is so dominant, and it's not going to get it's only going to continue to get better because of the investments they have in facilities and things like that. And Mississippi State's won a national championship as NIL is coming into play here. The SEC is going to be the lead dog in that as well. I mean, it is something, and it's even more meaningful to a team like Mississippi State to get through the league the way that they did this year and be able to win the national championship as good as the league was. I mean, it's just a tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah, and I think in the broad scope of things, the fact that you just touched on the 5 different SEC champs, in the broad scope, yeah, it is the best league for college baseball. There's no doubt about that. It doesn't change our discussion from either earlier this week or towards the end of last week, one of the two, that this year we had overvalued the SEC and undervalued leagues like the ACC. It wasn't as deep as it may have looked or just assumed to be. And we saw that play out in the postseason. It wasn't as deep. And there were other leagues like the ACC in particular for this conversation that were better than we gave it credit for. The top half, the top 4 or 5, Mike Morgan said this repeatedly on the show. He's never seen the top 4 or 5 as good as they've ever been in the SEC. And that turns out to be true. Was this league top to bottom just unbelievable? No. I mean, the teams at the bottom were average teams. And you could throw South Carolina into that. They were a good average team.
Yeah, well, Carolina was better than the teams at the bottom. They beat them all. Right.
They were the good average. They were the top of the middle of the pack, right? I mean, you're good. Nothing great.
They were in the middle of the pack of the best league in the country, which I think says something. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think that we undervalued the best teams in the ACC in particular. Didn't ever undervalued Texas at all. I thought they had a chance to win this thing. There's no doubt. And I thought there were some teams out west that really had a chance too. In the ACC, even right here in our own backyard, I didn't give enough credit to NC State, certainly, or Notre Dame for that matter, even though they didn't make Omaha. And Virginia got hot at the right time, and that's what happens. Yeah, there deserves to be more credit for some of those teams. But again, none of them deserve more credit than the top teams in this league. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's no other way to cut it. It was just a tremendous accomplishment, and it was also a tremendous College World Series. So many great moments from this World Series that we'll remember for a long time. Well, we always remember this young lady, one of the great writers out there with The Athletic, Grace Raynor, covering Clemson football, who's been kind enough to hop on board on a Thursday afternoon. It's actually Bobby Bonilla Day. He gets another $1.something million, but it's also now Name, Image, and Likeness Day in America because that is in full effect. And we're going to ask Grace how this is already impacting the Clemson Tigers. It's been a while, Grace. How are you? And happy 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, happy 4th of weekend to y'all. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Well, we're good, and you know how it is in sports. You've been covering Clemson for a long time. You've been in the sports world. Generally, right, we get to, depending what Omaha gives us, we get to about the middle, bottom half of June, and then we have to get through about 2 or 3 weeks in July, and then you get media days and stuff like that. But there's always about a 4-week span where you're trying to come up with stuff to talk about. Not this year, Grace. You know how it is. Not with Name, Image, and Likeness and all this other stuff going on. I can't imagine how busy you are right now tracking down all these Tigers to see what's in store for them from a monetary standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I will say thank goodness for Google Docs because without that, I don't know how I would keep track of everything going on. But yeah, what a fascinating morning it's been already.
Oh my God! All right, so fill us in here. What's going on with Clemson? I think Matt Brockhorst has already tweeted something. We've seen DJ Uiagalelei. Give us some notables from the Tigers football team and how they're already capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness.
Sure. Okay. Well, so full disclosure, I am going through the roster numerically and I'm only in the 20s. So there's probably some that I am missing, but the notables so far, Darian Wrencher, I thought had a really savvy move. He created his own personal website via Adobe Spark that is basically his resume. And it is extremely well done, has photos and awards and quotes and all that kind of stuff. So he's basically saying, hey, if you're interested, here's my website, which I think is a good move. Several of these players have put out kind of PSAs on their Instagram or their Twitters. Trey Williams has done that. Jalen Phillips has done that. Ray Thornton has done that. Braden Galloway, who I think is a really interesting case because his girlfriend has 2 million followers on TikTok. He has announced that he's working with Open Doors, which Clemson has enlisted Open Doors to help all their athletes, and they have sent him his first deal. We don't know what that is, but Open Doors has sent him his first deal. And then you mentioned, Matt Brockhorst and it looks like Tyler Venables have both partnered up with GoPuff, which delivers daily essentials, alcohol, snacks. I shouldn't say alcohol is the first daily essential. I take that back. Snacks, home essentials. So yeah, just kind of a mix of different things, and I think we're all waiting on DJ to see kind of what his first big one will be.
So let me ask you this about DJ.
Hold on, Darren, before you go any further, make sure you clip that so we put that into our greatest highlights of this program.
I mean,
the daily essentials, alcohol.
It's not wrong. It's not. And conveniently, if you're flying in the right service areas of Delta, you can get some alcohol. And there is a pinned tweet on DJ Uiagalelei's profile that mentions something about Delta. I've got it on our full screen graphic up here for you right now, Grace. Something about Delta and something about July 1st. Is it possible that that Clemson will have a quarterback with the first massive national deal?
I mean, I think anything is possible at this point, right? And you look at DJ, I think he's as marketable as anyone in the country. I mean, he was on a Netflix show that won an Emmy, and he's got over 100,000 followers on Instagram. And I thought that was a smart move by DJ too, kind of put your foot in the door a little bit, but also show your personality a little bit. And that's what NIL is all about. It's what social media is all about, branding yourself. So I think the DJ to Delta pitch was a smart, but also fun move on his part.
Grace, how about specific to DJ? Obviously, he's taking advantage of his name, image, and likeness and what he has already been able to do on the football field and what he is expected to do. But how about the impact of his predecessors? Because Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, the two most notable names here. Obviously, you can throw Kelly Bryant in there if you'd like to, a great quarterback in his own right. But now you have a tradition at Clemson and you have a platform at Clemson. And so, and that is that quarterback platform. And because of what has happened before him, two guys who are pro quarterbacks, top draft picks, the whole 9 yards, it's not really like there's an impact there. And it's not really the fact that DJ Uiagalelei has to go out this year, Grace, and throw for 4,500 yards and 50 touchdowns. But he's now on the map. Like what matters is, are you marketable and are people paying attention to you? And no matter how successful or unsuccessful he is, people are now paying attention to DJ Uiagalelei because of what happened. Yes, because of who he is as a player, but also because of what those before him have accomplished.
Sure. I mean, you look at Clemson right now, and I think they make a case for the way that they've recruited quarterbacks lately to be as good as anyone in the country in that department. I mean, back to back, you've got, Deshaun, Trevor, and DJ. And now they're firmly, it seems like they're in the mix with Arch Manning. So yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. And like you said, Trevor Lawrence and Clemson winning their first title in 2016, it put Clemson on the national stage in a way that they hadn't been in a long time. And so now if you're a fan of college football, you have to pay attention to Clemson. Maybe you're not watching them blow out, Kent State in week 1, but this is one of the forefront programs in college football. They're right in the thick of it for the title every single year. So yeah, certainly that does not hurt DJ's case in any regard.
Grace Raynor covers Clemson football at The Athletic. All right, so how about Coach Sweeney and how he has embraced this over the last few months? And today it's live, it's real. Obviously, people, how folks are, Grace. They're going to bring up his comments from what, I don't even know how long ago now, 2 or 3 years ago. And well, if things go professionalized in college sports, I might find something else to do. You know it's coming. You're going to hear it. And Coach Sweeney probably knows he's going to hear that as well. But how has he embraced this name, image, and likeness moment over the last couple of months?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's going to be a lot of talk about that today and in the coming days, and understandably so. I mean, he's one of the biggest names in the sport. And when he made those comments in 2014 about professionalizing college sports, paying players, they went viral then. And of course, they're going to come back up today and as we move forward. But as far as NIL goes, Dabo's been supportive of it as a way to, in his words, modernize the collegiate model, modernize the scholarship. Darian Wrencher was on ACC Network this morning, said that Dabo Sweeney shared with Clemson. He's excited for them, excited for the opportunity. And then you look at Clemson as a whole, and Clemson was one of the first schools in the country to partner with Open Doors, this social media and technology company. And this was back in 2015. And so I spoke with Creative Solutions guru Jonathan Gant back in August, and he was saying, not that we saw NIL coming at that point when we made that decision in 2015, but now we've got some resources in place to help these kids be successful. We're not scrambling to try to put together some educational piece of this. So certainly Dabo's comments are going to probably continue to be polarizing, but he has been supportive of the NIL space specifically.
How can you speak from what you've learned being around the school and the athletics department specifically? Can you speak on how they are teaching and coaching their athletes to balance this? I do think that, and I think it's a legitimate fear if you're a fan, but I do think that there are probably people out there, Grace, that are seeing, social media today or whatever it is, and realizing that, well, a lot of those athletes that they're going to pull for on Saturdays in the fall are now focused on their brand and how do they make more money. So there's probably a concern as to how this is going to balance itself out. These kids are running their own businesses now. Can you speak from the athletic department side and what you've learned about how they're coaching these young men and women on campus to be able to balance this in their daily lives?
Yeah, I think it starts with that first and foremost, is that educational piece. And that's what Clemson Athletic Director Dan Radakovich said a couple weeks ago when Henry McMaster, obviously South Carolina governor, signed the state's bill at Clemson in basically a ceremony. It was already pretty much official for 2022. But yeah, so I think this is why it's so important that your head coach is able to balance this, because you're right, now you're looking at all of the demands that student athletes normally have, and now on top of it, you're adding in these business ventures. And so how are you managing your time? Are you prepared to deal with the fact that you now have to pay taxes? This is something you need an accountant to help you out with this. Are you going to get an agent? I think with Clemson, their kind of 3-step plan, if you will, was to first and foremost get their kids familiar with Open Doors, which I think they're pretty familiar with it at this point, because that's where, anytime you see a Clemson player post a photo of himself playing or on the field, it's come from Open Doors. They want to use Clemson's in-house social media team and then just tap into these experts: compliance, communication, professional development. There are so many pieces to this, but I think it's ongoing, and I don't think that anyone has a definitive plan right now on July 1st, but this is going to be something that you're going to have to adapt to as we move forward. College sports as we know it will never be the same.
Is there a rule at Clemson in terms of athletic department employees helping athletes get these deals done? Because South Carolina has prohibited that, and I'm not sure if the NCAA has expressly prohibited that, but I've seen similar language with other schools.
I am not sure what the situation is with Clemson at that point. I think that they can give them tools and resources, but I would be surprised to see Dan Radakovich, go to DJ and be like, okay, let's get you this deal, XYZ. First, just from a logistics and timing standpoint, I think that would be really difficult, but I don't know what the official language is at Clemson, if they have any at this point.
Is there any rule that either of y'all, I don't know. If Deshaun Watson has his own brand, can't he just sign the next Clemson quarterback that comes to campus and say, yeah, hey, you're part of the Watson brand now. You're a Clemson quarterback. Here you go. Can't he? That's fine, right? So
I don't know.
I guess.
I think that's, I would guess so. If it's a business venture and you want to use the player's name, image, and likeness for your company, we saw Bo Nix, the Auburn quarterback, sign a deal for Sweet Tea this morning. I guess it depends on how you want to regulate brands. But those are all the questions I think we still have to answer as we continue in this space.
It's amazing. The NCAA is, oh my gosh, wow, they just left every door open. Yeah, because I think that there are, Grace, some schools across the country, and I know that over the next few weeks you're going to be doing so much homework on this as we kind of compare and contrast what's happening from school to school, state to state, and things like that. But I think that there are some schools across the country that will not allow boosters or alumni to in any way, shape, or form pay because to name, image, and likeness, pay any of their athletes like at that school. So I guess my question would be, all right, well, Trevor Lawrence has graduated Clemson and he's an NFL quarterback and he has the Trevor Lawrence clothing brand And every time you're a Clemson quarterback, you automatically are enshrined into this. He's going to pay you to wear that stuff around all the time or whatever. But at Tennessee, they have different rules, and you have the Peyton Manning clothing brand, and you're a quarterback at Tennessee, you can't wear Peyton Manning stuff. So you just kind of wonder what that impact will be from school to school and state to state.
For sure. And I think the other interesting part of this from state to state is that, you've got, 4 states in the country that don't have state income tax, like Florida, Texas, Nevada. What's the fourth one I'm missing? I don't know what it is. But this is such different legislation from state to state. At Clemson, athletes can't use the institution's intellectual property, which includes its logo. So in that situation with Trevor, they wouldn't be able to use the Clemson logo. But yeah, the floodgates, I think, have just completely opened.
Yeah, the intellectual property. That's interesting. I saw Gene Sapikoff earlier tweeted that, well, you can go out and get hurt while wearing that logo and have major medical issues the rest of your life, but you can't use that logo to help your own name, image, and likeness. But of course, the school can use your name, image, and likeness to help themselves. So,
and the Gamecocks, in what they put out today, it's the opposite. It said they can use the likeness, not the likeness, the intellectual property, so long as you've got approval. I believe that was the language. And boosters are absolutely allowed within the South Carolina rules that they put out today to contact a athlete directly, so long as the contract is not come to South Carolina and play, and I'll give you this money.
You think that's a major impact, Grace, with how Clemson and South Carolina compete for kids?
I think it could be. I mean, I was always under the assumption, because 2 weeks ago, Henry Master comes to Clemson, he signs his bill. Obviously, it's not going into effect until 2022, but you hear from all of these politicians in the state of South Carolina, and they very much paint a picture that Clemson and South Carolina officials came together and said, we need to get this done. We will never compete again in this state in terms of recruiting if we can't get this done. So it is interesting to hear you guys say that South Carolina, they are letting you do intellectual property. Clemson is not. Like, maybe this is naive or I don't know, but I assumed that the two state schools would be pretty uniform in those policies. But again, I think we'll figure out more, and we'll see more literature and guidelines as we kind of head down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, because I hear you there, and I almost wonder, Grace, if yes, they were uniform in a lot of this, but because now the NCAA has basically opened the floodgates and superseded all of these state laws that are going to be coming into effect and things like that. It's a free-for-all, basically. Because that has kind of changed, I wonder if that changed the model a little bit for certain schools, on an individual basis. If it was going to be under state law, fine, this is the route we'll take. But because it's not under state law and we get to basically do whatever we want to do here, well, we'll adjust it a little bit, and then this school is going to adjust it a little bit. They might all have a similar model, but there certainly might be a couple of differences simply because it's actually not state law.
Sure. I mean, I think maybe we will see differences. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a school, you're trying to compete at the highest level, which requires you to get recruits at the highest level, which requires you to have a plan for this and a strategy that you see fit. And we see schools all the time have completely different recruiting strategies. Clemson has different recruiting strategies than almost every other school in the country. So, yeah, I mean, I think every school that's not under state legislation is, I guess, going to figure out kind of how they want to go with it and figure out what their rules are.
Grace Raynor. All right, I know you cover football, but outside of football, top of mind, I don't know if this is something you've been thinking about. Are there some other athletes, revenue or non-revenue sports at Clemson to keep an eye on that could sign major deals? I know, Darren, you mentioned the twin basketball players, the young ladies at Fresno State. How about at Clemson? Is there maybe somebody, male or female, that's a little bit off the radar here who, because of their social media following or whatever, might be signing a larger deal than maybe the starting quarterback?
I would say my number one athlete that I'm kind of keeping an eye on outside of football is Valerie Cagle from the softball team. I mean, she just had a remarkable season in Clemson's debut season with the softball program. I mean, she's won 10 million awards, She's freshman of the year finalist, all these things. I think that's a sport too that is growing and we're seeing grow in popularity, and she just exploded onto the scene in their first year. So I would say keep an eye on Valerie Cagle.
How about some of these guys that Monty Lee has signed, like Will Taylor? You're talking about dual sport athletes. What do you think that means for guys like that?
Yeah, when you look at Will Taylor and Bubba Chandler, I think honestly it depends on if they even are Clemson students in the next 2 weeks. Both of them are projected first-round picks. I don't know that they'll even be on campus in the next couple of weeks to take people up on NIL. I mean, I think it's extremely possible that both of them get life-changing money in the MLB draft, and then this is just a moot point for both of them.
Well, that's very true, and I expect them to both go in the first round. By the way, it's fascinating that both of these kids have signed at Clemson. A marvelous job by Monty and Dabo to kind of get together and figure this thing out. But with NIL, it does make you wonder, though, right? Like these conversations are going to happen. Hey, look, man, you got a $1 million deal laying right there to go play pro baseball, but you might be able to make that amount of money here over the next 3 years and go play in college. I mean, these things are going to change.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it too, especially these freshmen that are coming in, is recruiting. We see kids build their brand in recruiting. Now, Will and Bubba, I don't think they have huge social media following, so I still think the MLB draft is a better financial decision for them, assuming that they both go in the first round. But yeah, you take a guy like DJ. I mean, he had a whole brand just from these recruiting hype videos before he ever came to Clemson. So in that regard, a lot of these true freshmen, Will Shipley, I'm thinking about him. He had a really well done recruiting video. A lot of these freshmen, I think, can take advantage of this immediately, even though they haven't played yet.
All right, so I know in Columbia, Grace, Darius Rucker, of course, he gifted a studio to the facility up there. Is there a recording studio at Clemson?
I don't know that there's a recording studio. I guess maybe Lee Bryce, he's a Clemson grad. Maybe he can go toe to toe with Darius on that one.
That's what I'm getting at here, because you might have whoever walk in there and make himself an album, and then all of a sudden he's a hip hop star, and he's also a running back, or he's a country music singer, and he's also a center fielder, or she turns into the next American Idol, and she's also the best basketball player in the country, all because of that recording studio.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think I saw a tweet earlier this morning about maybe a West Virginia player who is going to start doing shows. And I think about at Clemson, Jackson Carman really loved music. And so, I mean, that's the cool thing about all of this, is that whatever it is that is your niche outside of your sport, your hobby, your passion, what you care about, what you're good at, do it. There's a market for you now as an NCAA athlete. So yeah, I mean, you want to make music, go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. We look up in 5 years, Grace, and you're walking into the Clemson football facilities, or Georgia or South Carolina or wherever, and that drink machine over there is the Masterade that was designed by your your starting running back, and you got to pay him $1.50 just to get a bottle out of the machine. Oh, by the way, the school is also paying him to have his drinks inside the facility while he's playing on the football team there. I mean, there's going to be somebody whose music is going to be playing in Death Valley, and he's also the wide receiver, but Clemson bought his music rights or something from him. Oh, they're also paying him to be on scholarship. It's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I read something earlier this morning about the Tennessee player who has his own business, and now he is getting his teammates to sponsor his business. So, I mean, yeah, it's endless.
It is endless. All right. So obviously you're digging through NIL. What will we be watching for in the Athletic over the next couple of weeks? I know the 4th of July is coming up. Hopefully you'll get some time off, but what are you working on as we get towards media days and then into fall camp in August?
Yeah, I do have some time off coming up next week, but yeah, I think once we get through NIL, we'll get into some preseason stuff, some Clemson, Georgia stuff. I've got oral history coming up. I mean, I cannot believe it's July 1st already. It seems like after 2020 dragged on for like 35 years. One, it's blown by. So yeah, I mean, we're getting really close into, 3 weeks from now we'll be at Media Day. So it's about time to start our preseason coverage.
Have you tried the Trevor Lawrence toaster yet?
I have not, but that thing is absolutely remarkable, doesn't it? It's crazy.
So a backstory, Grace knows because I texted her, a very, very good family friend of ours is the brainchild of this Revolution toaster, the one that the Jacksonville Jaguar fans gifted to Trevor Lawrence. So basically, he created this. He paid the salaries of everyone to come up with this and produce it and get it to market over how many different years it took. And I text him about it as well. And he said, you know what you got to do? Check out Tony Kornheiser's podcast, which is titled Now That's a Piece of Toast. So he got it to Kornheiser, and Kornheiser went off on the lead segment, like a block of one of his podcasts, of how great this toast is. It's like life-changing toast.
Wow.
That's amazing. I mean, okay, yeah, think about that with NIL.
Mhm.
Toasters, get in the game. Like, they've already got kind of a Clemson connection. Hop in.
I mean, this is guys. It seems surreal to even have this conversation. I mean, this is who'd ever thunk this was going to be a part of covering college athletics. Unbelievable. Grace, enjoy your alcohol because the 4th of July is coming up. We know it's going to be delivered to you shortly, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, that was probably like the that's gonna like play in my head on loop for the next week.
God, that was great. I thought that was great. That was
Talk about a Freudian slip, man.
Yeah,
that was fan. And you caught it. You heard it. So good for you. That's,
in all slips, there's a truth.
Yeah, that was wonderful stuff. Grace, it is always so wonderful to catch up with you. We really look forward to football season. We're going to get back with you here in the next few weeks, probably right around media days. Clemson, as we all know, will once again be the favorite to win the ACC. So we'll start fussing and discussing college football once again. Thanks, Grace. Have a happy 4th of July, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, happy 4th to y'all, and thanks for having me.
Later.
There you go. Grace Raynor, who's expecting an alcohol delivery probably at some point in time in the near future from one of those shopping cart apps that they drop off on your front porch.
So I forget the name of the lineman, the Clemson lineman who signed with him, and Grace pointed out someone else did also. But I've never heard of whatever the company is. It must be some Clemson niche type thing. But he's pushing milkshakes. Like, I can order a milkshake, I assume, if I'm around Clemson. And within minutes, this milkshake, which was an Oreo milkshake or a cookies and cream one in the picture, which looked incredible. Within minutes, it's delivered to my door with his promo code.
Yeah. Isn't that Brockhorst?
Yeah.
It's Matt Brockhorst, right? Yeah, I saw that. I saw the milkshake. Is it Go Puffs?
Something. Yeah.
I'm
it's something like that. It's something like that.
Yeah. There's. I have looked at so much of this. But I can't remember all of it now. So, wow, what a day! What a day! It's also my mom's birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday! Yes. Go Puff.
So happy birthday, Mom. She is currently in the car doing some traveling, but wanted to wish the best mom out there happy birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. July 1st, great day, and it's NIL day, and it's Bobby Bonilla Day. Bonilla Day.
I mean, all of that is chasing your mom. Your mom sets the standard. Then there's Bonilla, and then there's NIL. Just trying to fill the gap.
Except my mom's not getting a $1.19 million check today for not playing baseball anymore.
That's
like Bobby Bonilla is. That he'll get, by the way, through 2035.
The Mets are finally doing something smart about this. I don't know if you saw it. By the way, Front Office Sports, I've pointed them out before. Great stuff on NIL and this on their current Twitter feed right now. They're putting together this suite, and they're auctioning it off. You can stay like a night at Citi Field in a Mets basically suite and throw out a first pitch, all part of Bobby Bonilla Day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they're at least trying to monetize some of it.
Yeah, well, get on them. Got their rear ends kicked last night by the Braves, by the way.
They did.
It was like 20-2.
The Nationals get closer in the standings.
Poor Randy Carlson. He's having a rough morning, even though they're still in first place. All right, we got to hit a timeout. When we return, more NIL with John Whittle. Also, though, Gamecock basketball landed a big transfer today within the SEC, as a matter of fact. He'll maybe have some notes on that for us as well. We've got some golf to get to. And then Darren and I, in 1 hour, will say so long until July the 12th for our 4th of July and more break. So hang tight. The final hour of the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, car lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$16.66 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed Dub.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clemens Ferry Road.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Thursdays over at DB's Cheesesteaks are buy one, get one half off foot-long cheesesteaks. DB's voted #1 by you, best cheesesteak in Charleston for 2 straight years. If you don't know what to order, order what I order. That's the buffalo chicken cheesesteak. And don't forget the boardwalk fries at DB's, DB'sCheesesteaks.com for that entire menu. This is the final hour, as I mentioned, for Darren and I until July the 12th. We're off tomorrow and off all of next week, taking our family 4th of July breaks, and then we'll be back and ready to go and get you closer to media days and closer to football. And then before you know it, we'll be rocking and rolling. This guy seemingly always works, though. John Whittle with the BigSpur.com. He is going to join us here on this Thursday afternoon, July the 1st. It's the final month without college football of the year. That's awesome. And we're going to talk to John about some NIL stuff in just a second. But first, Whittle, I got to get your reaction to Mississippi State winning the national championship, becoming the 5th SEC team since 2009 to do so, the 7th title for the league in the last 12 years. A tremendous accomplishment for Chris Lemonis, Scott Foxhall, and the rest of that Bulldogs program.
Absolutely. Really happy for those guys. You know, I was in Omaha when South Carolina won it back in 2010 and first national championship. And, you know, it was really special moment for those guys. So I know what those folks are feeling, and happy for the folks from Starkville. I've always had great trips out there whenever I've been, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, and you know they've been an enjoyable group to be around on my travels out there. And you know, Omaha looked a lot like Starkville, Mississippi, out in the stands on Wednesday night, and really throughout the 3-game series and the tournament in general. So. You know, they were a great team. You know, not surprising to me at all that SEC had 2 teams in the championship series, and great representation out in Omaha. I thought the league was the best it's ever been, and the best in college baseball this year. So really enjoyed watching SEC baseball over the course of the season, and certainly enjoyed the last few days watching Mississippi State and Vanderbilt get after it.
Yeah, that was they beat Rocker last night. You know, I know he was on 4 days rest and not 5. I'm not sure. I guess there was maybe some impact, but yeah, you know, it's always neat to see somebody win their first one. Matter of fact, you know, the dude is pretty much brand new, Whittle. It's actually kind of a similar story to South Carolina. I mean, the Gamecocks had just opened Founders Park. Well, at that time it was called Carolina Stadium in 2009. And then in 2010, they turned around and win it, and they turned around and win the next one in 2011. So the Dogs might not be done for all we know, but there are some similarities, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, they had a bunch of old guys on their team this year. I mean, they're going to be losing a ton off of this roster going into next year, but I know they've recruited pretty well, and they're going to certainly always be in contention. You know, Mississippi State has historically been a really good program with a really good foundation for baseball success. So I don't foresee that changing. And like you said, Chris Lemonis has done a great job there. They've recruited really well. They've recruited this state well, to be honest with you. And you know, there are a lot of positives about that program for sure.
John, before we get off of baseball, I want to ask you, I know that South Carolina has had, you know, some transfers from the program. I think maybe all of them, but if not all of them, pretty close to it, were fairly expected. They're also going to take in some transfers and things like that. But I'm pretty sure that it was you that put this article up on the BigSpur.com about each SEC program and how many transfers they have. Missouri has 19 players leaving that program. Is that true?
Yeah, and I don't know the whole backstory and what all's going on up there, to be 100% honest with you. But you know, there's some good players off of that team in the portal. There are a couple of good players who are going back, but having 19 players leave that program, and you know, I also don't know how they structured that roster. You know, some teams bring in, you know, 50 guys and, you know, redshirt them or cut them or whatever you want to say. So there may be some guys who weren't really on the roster, who were in the program in some capacity, who are leaving for opportunities to go play. But you know, they're losing some good players to the portal for sure. And you know, they weren't expected to be like real good this year, but they were expected to be a little bit more competitive than they were. So you know, I don't know what that says about Steve Beazer, their head coach, and what they've got going on over there. Maybe they needed some roster turnover and transition, but 19 is a huge number to lose.
Yeah, especially in this league. I mean, we all know how good it is. You you turn over 20 dudes, not to mention guys that you're probably just losing to graduation and maybe the draft and things like that. I mean, you're talking about an entirely new group of kids next year. It's that's pretty remarkable. All right, John. And again, one more quick roadblock before we get to name, image, and likeness with you. But I would consider this pretty big news. It is big in the sense of height. Broke for South Carolina just a little while ago. Josh Gray, 6'11" center from LSU, has signed his transfer papers, and he is coming to Columbia to play for Frank Martin. His numbers weren't, they weren't great numbers this past year. I don't think he played a ton on a pretty talented roster down there. But nonetheless, he was a pretty highly touted prospect out of, I think, Pennsylvania or Connecticut or something like that in the 2020 class. Have you had a chance to dive into this young man just yet, and what type of impact he might have or might make for the Gamecock basketball program?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was a New York area guy, and St. John's was recruiting him pretty hard out of the transfer portal. But South Carolina was one of the very first schools to get on him and after him as a high school recruit. Chuck Martin was in there, and Gray ended up choosing to go to LSU, which probably wasn't a great move for him based on, how they use their centers and the way he plays basketball. LSU runs more of a pick and pop kind of offense for their big men. And, that's not Josh Gray's strength. He's more of a traditional back to the basket kind of post player who will set some screens and up top and get back down low and work it that way. And, that's really kind of the way that Frank Martin uses his bigs. So, I think he fits South Carolina's system and what they want to do much better than what he did at LSU. So I think it's going to be a better. There's going to be a better chance for success for him at South Carolina than he was going to have down there. So yeah, his numbers weren't very good, but that isn't really surprising based on what they had and how they play.
Yeah, he's the fifth transfer that South Carolina has accepted this year. Of course, remember just a couple of weeks ago, Alonzo Frink entered the NCAA transfer portal. I think that might have caught some off guard, but nonetheless, he's now been replaced by Josh Gray. All right, let's get to name, image, and likeness. Darren mentioned this earlier. We just talked to Grace Raynor a little bit ago to kind of get a feel for what Clemson's looking like here on this this first day of a whole new era, as you well know, John Whittle, in college athletics. But one of the things we were discussing earlier is the fact that Clemson will not allow logos, photos, designs, or uniforms of theirs to be used at this time by any of their student athletes. South Carolina is the opposite of that. Quote, student athletes may use the University of South Carolina intellectual property with the prior written approval of the University of South Carolina Athletics Department, which here's what that means. If Luke Doty has a product and he wants to wear his South Carolina jersey in it, he can do it as long as South Carolina tells him he can do it. Anything significant in the first few hours of this brand new era that is noteworthy from the Gamecock side? I'm not sure if there's been any deals or anything like that announced by any athletes, but what has caught your eye early on this Thursday afternoon?
Well, I spoke with somebody over in the administration earlier who works pretty closely with this stuff, who told me that right now there's some things being finalized, but nothing real huge, nothing real major. And you see Bo Nix out there with Milo's, which I guess is a national company now that started over there in Alabama, and you see De'Aaron King in Miami with his $20,000 deal for a nightclub. It seems like, and the twins from Fresno State with their Boost Mobile deal for, I think it was $35,000, something like that. So there's anything close to that for South Carolina right now. But there's been I was told that there could be some things that happen today in terms of some smaller deals for some South Carolina athletes. South Carolina partnered with Altius, which is a company that South Carolina partnered with them because they felt like they would do the school felt like the company would do the best job with educating their student athletes on how to approach these things. And that was the reason behind selecting Altius, and they feel like they've done a good job of educating their student athletes on what they should do and what should look out for and the questions they need to ask. And from the feedback I've gotten, that's happened. But the folks at Altius did a meeting with the football team and the basketball teams here yesterday, and they asked how many folks have been approached in some capacity by some companies to endorse their product or what have you, to enter into some sort of contractual agreement with them. And I was told about 2/3 of the folks in that room raised their hand. So,
Wow.
it's interesting that so many folks have at least been reached out to. Now, that's not to say that all those folks have, come to agreement on something, but, I guess it's at least been a conversation with more than half the football and basketball players on campus. So, it'll be interesting to see. I was a little bit skeptical on how many opportunities that these folks would have, especially for like real money, talking, $1,000 or more. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to make, a couple $100 here and there for folks. But, I don't think that that's kind of what a lot of these student athletes are hoping for. I think they're hoping for some major deals. And I don't think that those are going to be handed out nearly as much as some folks out there believe.
John Whittle with the Big Spur 116 on this Thursday afternoon. Who's the most marketable athlete at the University of South Carolina, in your opinion?
That's a great question, and I've gone back and forth on who I think it would be right now. And I think, to me, I think Luke Doty is probably the person with the most upside in terms of what they can eventually do here. Whether he's that person right now, I kind of doubt it, because he hasn't done a whole lot right now other than just being named the starting quarterback at an SEC school, which I think is probably, being a college football quarterback, I think is going to be the position on the sports team that lends itself to having the most opportunity. But there's going to be your niche athletes who have the huge followings on social media that are going to be really popular. But I think Aaliyah Boston is probably going to have some opportunities to do some real things. She's a personable girl on a great team, and the best player and national player of the year caliber player in person. So I think that she's probably, I think I've kind of settled on her this morning. I can probably be convinced otherwise, but I think I've settled on her as probably the most marketable right now as we sit here today. But, if Luke Doty goes out there and throws a bunch of touchdown passes, he's the quarterback of the football team. He's a personable guy. He's got that kind of energy about him. And you know what? There's a certain look when you got that $1 million smile, then you certainly have a chance to make a little bit more money too. I certainly think that plays into Bo Nix's, deal a little bit. When you've got a marketable look too, I think that certainly helps. So, I think Aaliyah Boston, Luke Doty, those are the two that really kind of jump out to me right now.
It's so interesting, right, John? Because you have numerous markets that matter to different athletes, and then obviously different moments matter to different athletes. I mean, think about Eric Kimry. What if this was around when he threw, quote, the fade? The next day, would Eric Kimry have had some type of deal land on his desk, essentially?
A barber with the fade.
Exactly. I mean, you could get creative with it. I mean, I think, John, I asked you who the most marketable. I agree with you, by the way. I think Aaliyah Boston at this point in time probably is. But I mean, down here in the low country of South Carolina, is there a business who maybe has or is thinking about contacting Dakereon Joyner I mean, he's a kid who is loved down here by everybody. You know, is Darian Joyner a marketable athlete in the low country for whatever product it may be? I mean, there are so many different scenarios, and there are so many different things that could matter to companies who are trying to raise their bottom line. And athletes are going to fit into all of these different boxes a little bit differently.
No, I completely agree with you. And this is something that's going to have to be measured over time. But, you know, I wonder how much influence these kids are actually going to have over, you know, people making purchasing decisions, though. You know, I mean, if Darian Joyner, and I hate to use him as an example, but if I mean, a college athlete is you know, contracted to sponsor at a car dealership, are people really going to be more apt to go buy a car from that dealership? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, you're tying your business to 18, 19, 20-year-old kids as well. And, you know, those kids also now have the opportunity to leave the program whenever they feel like it. And, you know, they're also kids making 18 and 19 and 20-year-old decisions. I mean, you talk to any college coach and they tell you they stay up at night wondering if their players are making the right decisions out there in public. And, you know, that's you're contracting a kid and paying somebody money to represent your company. And that's a risk you're taking too. So, you know, it's just going to be fascinating to me, all the different levels of this and how it plays out. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to, you know, sign autographs and make a couple $100 here and there. But it's going to be fascinating to me to see how all of this kind of evolves and you know, especially over the next few years. I mean, I've had a handful of people reach out to me today asking me, you know, how including JC Sherpert, asking, you know, what do you do to contact these kids and you know, see about you know, endorsing your product. And you know, you've got to reach out to the kids individually. I mean, you've literally got to slide into a 18-year-old, 19-year-old guy's DMs and you know, you do your contract talks with the player. Or if they have a marketing representative through one of them, it's not through the university. It's completely separate. So, you know, it's all just fascinating, the process and how it's all going to shake out, and you know what ultimately comes from it, and how many opportunities happen, and you know what the dynamic's going to be like in the locker room with the players who are getting opportunities and the ones who aren't. It's all fascinating to me.
Yeah, what are we going to do one day when we have? And again, if somebody hears this, I am totally making this up and having fun and being facetious. But what are we going to do when TigerNet pays Kevin Harris $5,000 a month to say I get all of my sports news from TigerNet?
Kevin Harris has to not take that deal. I mean,
could that happen?
We could be approached, say, for some company that we don't endorse. They could throw us tons of money to advertise on the show. We could say, sorry, that's not in line. If Kevin Harris is approached by something with Clemson, he could easily say, I don't need that money.
He could also easily say, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
it's going to be fascinating with media stuff. I mean, does the JB and Goldwater show pay Luke Doty $500 a month to come on and give him a half an hour exclusive interview? Like, I mean, it's I mean, it's interesting how the media world is going to shake out, and you know, I'm just seeing now that Olivia Thompson, a women's basketball player, is on Cameo. I mean, that's a very easy way to make a few quick bucks. You know, and I'm sure most folks out there are familiar with Cameo. It's just a platform where people pay you money to send somebody a video message, you know, wishing them happy birthday or whatever else. So, you know, there are a couple of Gamecocks on Cameo already to do that. You can monetize your YouTube channel. I mean, there's some very simple things you can do to make a little bit of money. And then obviously you've got folks like the Fresno State Twins who are making real big money and with one swipe of the pen too.
Absolutely. Yeah, Steve Fink would be a great person to talk to some of this about, because you're right. I mean, if right now, if Darren and I want to speak to Luke Doty, we got to call Steve or send him a text or an email or whatever and say, we'd like to talk to Luke Doty in 2 weeks, whenever. Can you set that up? And he either gives you the go ahead or you can't do it for whatever reason. But now I don't know what that language reads, John. I could easily say I want to talk to Luke Doty. I'm going to call Luke Doty myself, and we'll talk about his brand, but we'll also talk Carolina football. And what is South Carolina going to say about that?
That's exactly what John was referencing. If it has, I believe it's happened already. If not, it's in the works, where radio stations like flagships like 107.5 The Game, instead of having weekly appearances unpaid from some guys, why not just pay Luke Doty $500
and recoup it in advertising?
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I was going through with someone who owns a business this morning, wondering about how to contact South Carolina athletes, and just going through the language. It says specifically nobody who is associated or employed by South Carolina can be involved in this. You have to approach the athlete individually. So yeah, we could easily slide into a player's DM and say, throw you $250 if you want to come on our show for 20 minutes. Easy.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't tell.
And it's like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but they don't approve live spots for student athletes. So they'll get you on, they'll let you, record something or whatever, but I don't believe they approve live spots for outside entities. They've done a couple of things with 107.5, I think, but I think that's about it. But, this kind of changes things a little bit too, from that perspective. And, if enough kids are getting paid to do media appearances, are they going to do the free media appearances after games? Like, are we going to be able to talk to Kevin Harris if he's contractually obligated to speak to, whatever radio station or whatever reporting outlet? Is he going to come out and talk after he runs for 3 touchdowns against Auburn? I don't know the answer to that. So there's gonna be a lot of changes in the media world, I think too. And it's a really interesting time right now. And like I said, I don't know the way it's gonna work. And that was another thing that South Carolina. One reason why South Carolina chose Alpius is they didn't make a whole bunch of promises about what they could do for South Carolina student athletes, because at the end of the day, nobody really knows exactly what this is going to look like. They promised that they'd be working with South Carolina hand in hand and working with the student athletes hand in hand, and attacking this thing with them and putting them in the best position as possible. But South Carolina turned away several companies who were promising this, that, and the other, and guaranteeing this, that, and the other, because nobody really knows exactly what it's going to look like and exactly how things are going to happen. So I know it took a lot of folks off guard when 2/3 of that room raised their hand about being approached by companies. So it's a whole new world we're going into right now.
Final question on this, John. You wonder how it'll change the coaching profession as well. I mean, I'm not trying at all to pick on Will Muschamp, somebody I respect immensely. But John, you were front and center every week. You know exactly how Will Muschamp ran his program at South Carolina. You didn't have access to it unless he said you did, period. That's probably not going to be the case anymore. And so you wonder if guys like that will evolve to stay in the game if they want to be head coaches, or if they are currently head coaches or whatever, or if this is part of the change in the collegiate athletics era that will start to maybe wash out some of those guys from their positions as leaders in different sports.
Well, I mean, I think both of those things are true. I think it absolutely washes out some people from their jobs. I mean, I think you see it with Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski. I don't think they wanted to have to deal with some of this stuff. You're seeing it in administrations. There's a record number of AD spots, athletic director spots, that are open right now because they don't want to deal with the changes that are coming to college athletics. But you have to change, or you're not going to be able to put together a good football team. I mean, using your Muschamp example, like, if you tell kids that they can't do this, that, or the other, or they can only do this and that, not something else, and you're limiting their opportunities, those players are going to be out the door real quick and looking for somewhere else to go play. And it's going to affect you in recruiting. You've got no choice but to evolve and to accept, what's here now. And it's here now. And it came quicker than I thought it was. I say that like it's taken years and years and years of conversation, but once it happened real quick. So yeah, I mean, it's these coaches are gonna have to adapt, and they're gonna have to it's gonna be really tough on some of these coaches, not only managing the locker room, but if a player's not performing the way they should, and those guys are spending so many hours and so much time with endorsement stuff, like how do you balance all of this? It's gonna be really, really interesting to see, and I do think you're gonna see more and more coaches get out of this, and your administrators are going to get out of it. I mean, you saw more coaches, I think, in college football leave for the NFL than we have in a long time. It's going to have a ripple effect on so many different things, and it's going to be fascinating to watch play out.
There was an article in The Athletic, Grace's article, Raynor, we had her on just a minute ago today, was about there used to be a social media ban for Clemson football. The players, Dabo, agreed prior to last year, maybe 2 years ago, to lift that ban. One of the reasons they lifted that ban is so that players can take advantage of their name, image, and likeness on social media.
Yeah, and I think that's the spot where I think the casual fan is missing, where there's going to have an influence on who's getting the sponsorship deals and so forth. There's going to be a lot of folks on the whatever sports teams who aren't necessarily the highlight players, who have tremendous social media following for whatever reason, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or wherever else, where they're pushing a product or some kind of service that we wouldn't really think about in kind of the mainstream world. But there's going to be social media influencers who you don't think about as being the best players, who are getting opportunities that maybe some others aren't. And I think most folks look and think of the 4 and 5 star football players are going to be getting the most money, where I don't think that's the case at all. I think there's going to be a few star players, and there's going to be a lot of social media influence type of folks, and there's going to be some people with hometown connections and that kind of thing. So I think it's going to be a lot more varied than just kind of the major stars and the major recruits that people are kind of thinking.
John, it's going to be changing daily, man. I know that you and the rest of your crew and group over there at the Big Spur are going to be monitoring as much of this as you possibly can. But certainly things will happen that none of us know about until after they happen. So generally that's not the case at the Big Spur. Generally they pretty much know what's about to happen, and then they get it out as soon as it does. But with this name, image, and likeness deal, it can all happen so quickly. On that note, we'll let you run. College baseball is in the books. I know that you still have a lot going on with baseball this summer and covering the Canes and things like that, John. But what a great college baseball season it was. Hopefully a turnaround of sorts for South Carolina specifically. I know we'll all be looking forward to fall practice there. Gamecock football is right around the corner. Big news today in basketball, obviously, name, image, and likeness. So thebigspur.com is a great resource if you wear the garnet and black these days. It's free right now. They got a great promo going. Head to thebigspur.com for that. And John, as always, thank you. Happy 4th of July weekend, brother. I hope you get to see some fireworks
and we'll catch up with you here very soon. Media Days is only about 3 weeks away.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on, and hope you both enjoy your vacations.
You too, man.
I absolutely plan on doing that. There's no doubt. Thanks, John. John Whittle with thebigspur.com. I mentioned last night, if you missed it, it was a blowout, 20-2. Hopefully the Braves have some runs left. They are still 4.5 games back, though, of the New York Mets. Tonight is the All-Star Selection Show, so keep your eyes peeled. Let's see who makes the All-Star team this year in Major League Baseball. It's a big deal. They've done once again a pretty terrible job of promoting this. I just found out about it yesterday, and I watch baseball all the time. Hello. But nonetheless, the All-Star I think it's 9 o'clock tonight, I think is when the All-Star Selection show is. I think 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They had a different type of selection process this year. I know Schwarber will not be in the home run derby, so that makes me happy. But the announcement will be tonight.
Yeah, generally those home run derby guys, they come out of it struggling a little bit. So yeah, you probably don't want to see that. I don't know.
Tani's doing it.
Otani is. Is the rest of the field complete? I haven't seen it.
No,
I don't think so.
No, it's not complete.
Generally, they don't even get it done, wrapped up till within like a day or two before. So, I mean, it takes some time to get these guys committed. It's not like the old days where everybody wanted to do it.
Nope. You got to convince them.
Yeah, it's a little different now. And a lot of these guys too are not all-stars themselves, and they're like Smoke a few years ago was like, "Do I enjoy the all-star break?" Like he was an all-star one year and he loved it. That was back in 2017. Great experience. But also it was like, dude, I would have loved to have had 3 or 4 days just at home, just sitting. Mm-hmm. A lot of those guys are like, I don't want to play in the home run derby, participate because I want to go home and sit for 72 hours.
That's right.
So anyways. All right. Time for our final timeout of the week. When we return, we're going to dabble in some golf with Scott Glaze. If you want to get on the links, we'll tell you what times are open when we come back. And then we'll send you off to what's hopefully a wonderful 4th of July weekend for all of you right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with 0 down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike 2.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$16.66 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with 0 down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Dub.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clemens Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Where's the head bob there, old Scotty?
Y'all cut the music to her.
I know. Come on, producer Belding.
There's a reason. It's because if I don't cut that one too quickly, our YouTube show will be pulled because of copyright infringement if I let that music go too long.
What a bunch of jerks. We just need to sign the copyright papers, Darren. Just get those out. Let's do it.
I mean, I got those handy. Let me get on that.
Who needs that crap anymore? We got name, image, and likeness these days. We're all good. We're all good. Scott, do you think when you were playing college golf, you could have landed an NIL deal?
Nope.
No,
that was short.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe I'd take that back. There's maybe somebody, maybe like Ward's Barbecue up in Sumter, would have sponsored me. Let's hope. I don't know. Maybe a couple. This is interesting. An interesting day for sure. Also, don't forget that this is Bobby Bonilla Day. One of my favorite stats. I don't know if y'all covered that.
Yeah.
And while we're running the gamut, shout out to Chris Lemonis in Mississippi State. That's awesome. My life has been filled with Citadel baseball, so very happy for him. And
we were talking about your uncle the other day.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you related to Geddes.
Yes, that's my dad. My dad's brother is Geddes, and Geddes was on that 1990 team. My dad would tell you they were about 3 outs away from making the College World Series and stealing the thunder from that 1990 team, but got away from them back in the 80s. But man, I've grown up watching Citadel baseball and love the brand that is Citadel baseball and that grittiness and toughness. And that's what I loved about watching Mississippi State this postseason is those are those kind of teams. Those guys put the bat on the ball. They're 9 tough outs for sure.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, that was so cool. I mean, it was great for Lemo. Scott Foxhall, obviously, College of Charleston guy. We talked to 2 of your uncle's teammates this week. Obviously, you know Tony Skoll very well, and so we had him on. But also talked to Dan McDonald, who's the head coach up at Louisville. And I meant to tell you, Darren, you could put that picture up, but. So Tony sent me a picture last night of he literally woke up yesterday morning and said, I can't miss it. And he drove to the airport, got on a plane and flew to Omaha. And McDonald was already up there. So they were up there last night, a bunch of dogs and celebrating and all this, that, and the other. But anyways, they were talking about your uncle on our program just a couple of days ago, just how great that group was. So really neat. I know your family's proud. Of Chris Lemonis. Really cool stuff. All right.
Sorry. I was just going to add one of the coolest days of the year that we have the Citadel baseball fundraising tournament out here every year. And getting all those guys together. And then the great thing about those old days of Citadel baseball is Coach Chowport. Yeah. And man, it's like an oral history. It's like those stories. So that it comes around the end of October. That's always a fun time. Another awesome thing we got that goes on out here at Stono Ferry. So.
Yeah. Tony asked me last year, I think. He's like, hey, would you guys be interested in coming out and broadcasting? And I said, no. I think it was a football weekend or something. I said, no, y'all have fun, but no thanks. We talked to Scott enough, so that's good. StonoFerryGolf.com. So it's 4th of July weekend, boys and girls. I went ahead and pulled up the reservations tabs here. You've got availability, so that's good. That's going to go quick. It always does on 4th of July weekend. But you've got some availability, so you can book now by going to StonoFerryGolf.com. That's great, actually. There's some great tee times out there.
Well, we actually, we have some member groups that go out on the weekends, and I actually just cut them back. We always cut them back 48 hours in advance based on the number of players that they're going to have. And so I just cut back some prime time or opened up some primetime tee times on Saturday. There's a 9 a.m. open, 9:48, 9:56, 10:36, 10:44. Those were all filled. That is the earliest you can go until about 2:30. So jump on those. It's funny, there was a 9:08 that was open, and literally in the time that I logged on here to chat with you guys, that was filled online. So they go quick. And then we do have times. We do have a couple times on the 4th and on the 5th, and always check it. Like I said, it changes. People will cancel their tee times or change their reservation to another day or something like that. So if you log on today and they're hitting a time that you see that you like, you can log on this afternoon or maybe tomorrow, and that time might be there, or one that's more attractive to you. So that's it's the great thing about this day and age is you can check our tee sheet without having to talk to anybody.
Yeah, and and you can make money off your name, image, and likeness. It's a great day. Scott, let's first of all, on the scoreboard at the Rocket Mortgage up there in Detroit, Michigan. Right now, Brandon Hagee is in the lead at 7 under. Great day for Brandon Hagee, 65, and his round is finished. He's tied with Davis Thompson. He's at 7 under. But let me tell you why Davis Thompson's day is a lot better than Brandon Hagee's, because he's 7 under through 13. He still has 5 holes to finish. This guy might be 10 under par in the first round. This is unbelievable.
Shout out to Davis Thompson, former UGA Bulldog, which those guys have such a presence on the PGA Tour. Our winner last week, Harris English, UGA grad. Man, they
did these guys
out.
Do they walk around and bark at you just out of curiosity like all their fans do, or no?
They might.
You ever been asked this before?
I have not. It's on my list for sure. But I know some Georgia people, and hey, you can get barked at just at random.
They just walk around and bark at you. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
But yeah, Davis Thompson. I think he just turned pro, and has a little bit of status out there, and this is a great way to solidify some status to play this well and potentially have a really good week. This is one of those golf courses that we don't have a ton of data from the Rocket Mortgage Classic. This is only the third year it's been around, only the third time that they've played this golf course. Last year, Bryson DeChambeau dominated. He hit 38 drives over 330 yards last year at this tournament. Absurd. Matthew Wolff also was a part of the mix last year. He's a part of the mix already now. Another guy who hits it a long way. Very interesting to see what's going to happen with Bryson this week. If he can defend, it's a weaker field with the upcoming Open and Olympics, so on and so forth.
Yeah, but him and his caddy that apparently are taking some time off. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Well, one thing I was going to say is that Bryson this year, his stats from inside of 100 yards are down as to how they've been the last couple of years. This golf course, it bodes well for someone who can bomb it, because you're going to have so many short distances into the greens. But his wedge play has not been that good. So that's problem number one for Bryson. Problem number two is that apparently his caddy quit today. That's what I've seen, is that
Tim Tucker
quit.
So this isn't a we're spending time apart. This is
now the ESPN headline has come out and said that we're spending time apart. His caddy, whatever the falling out has been, his caddy has been there all this week during the practice rounds. I don't know if you saw the clip of Phil Mickelson supposedly bending Bryson's 8-iron there in a practice round, but that's right there with Bryson's caddy. Very interesting. And then just right on cue, Brooks Koepka tweets out a picture of him and his caddy and how much what a great guy that he is, and it should be Caddy Appreciation Day. And so the pettiness it's back.
Well, so wait, but this is big news, because the match is coming up on Tuesday.
Right.
Rogers and DeChambeau and old PGA Phil and Brady. So what's he going to do without a caddy in Montana? You got to have a caddy in Montana.
Right.
You can't go to – didn't you see the show Big Sky? You get trouble out there.
They got to be carting around in one of those things anyway, though, right?
Yeah, they might be carting around in that. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the details. Apparently, someone from Cobra has picked up the bag for Bryson this week, but going to be tough to play well when that happens right at the start of a golf tournament. A caddy player relationship, especially for bigger names, is such an important thing. We saw Tiger go, he started his career with Fluff. went to Steve Williams, and they had such a run together, he and Stevie.
But they could never get that handshake thing down.
No, they could never get the handshake thing down. That's for sure. But they parted ways after all of Tiger's kind of the scandal and issue and whatnot. And once Tiger was able to get back to golf, he linked up with Joey LaCava. So Tiger's had now he's made those caddies look very, very good. But he's had 3 great caddy player relationships. It's a unique balance. You have to find somebody that A, you trust, B, you want to spend a lot of time with, but C, you want them to have authority to make some decisions, to maybe call you off of a shot, step in if they see something a little different, as you do. A good caddy knows when to assert themselves, when to pull a veto card, and when to be supportive of the player. Maybe if it's
dating.
Right. It is like any relationship for sure.
Veto. Right.
And
Did we break up, or are we just spending time apart? It is.
I mean,
it is dating.
Don't they have a caddy Tinder app available somewhere? Hey, what are you up to this weekend?
Right.
Nothing. I know that course well. That sounds good. I'll meet you on the 18th.
Now, some of these guys, when you make it to a certain level, you want that consistency on your bag. Some of the guys, their caddies are going to vary year to year. Kyle Peters, I think we had talked about him. He's a local guy that was caddying for Corey Connors. Off of his bag this year, I can't remember whose bag he's on now, but there are guys that are just going to rotate. It is more of a job than a relationship. But once you get these bigger guys up there, it is definitely a relationship, and it's important to these guys. And we'll see what happens. But if this is a true split, we'll see what happens with DeChambeau, because all 8 of his professional victories have been with Tim on his bag.
Cadender, caddy Tinder, Cadender. Yeah, that we might be onto something here in the world of name, image, and likeness. We just have to find a golfer who could we could pay to endorse this deal. College golfer, maybe the what's her name? The girl up at South Carolina. She's really good. Oh gosh, her name's escaped me now.
We can't do this to the women's game because we always get called out by Meredith. So you gotta have that name right on the tip. I'm at a loss as well.
Meredith's gonna kill me. She I want to say Paulette. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know, the blonde girl.
Yes.
She could play.
Yes, she played. Yeah,
she was in the U.S.
in the ANWA.
In the ANWA. There you go.
Yeah. And speaking of the women's game, we talked about it last week. Nelly Corda. She
you were on that, by the way. Well done.
Yeah, she hit in the last 2 weeks. She won back-to-back weeks, but last week was her first major championship. She hit 120 of 144 greens over the course of those 2 weeks. That is unbelievable ball striking. She really kind of ran away at the end there at the Women's PGA at Atlanta Athletic Club. But just like John Rahm, and I mentioned it last week, it's kind of like, when is Nelly going to win a major? And she finally broke through. I think that's going to be the first of a good handful for her. She's now number 1 in the world, and that's the first time we've had a number 1 player in the world from the United States in, I believe, 7 years.
Yes.
So a long time. Also broke a long streak there of major champions from Americans. And we have 4 Americans in the women's game that are going to Tokyo to represent the United States. Both Corda sisters, Nelly and Jessica, and then Lexi Thompson and Danielle Kang. So that's exciting for the women's game and for the American game, because for a stretch there, and it still is dominated by international players in the women's game, but we're starting to see more of an American presence, which is definitely great to see.
Absolutely, you nailed that. We credited you earlier this week with the Nelly Corda pick, so we'll continue to give you credit where credit is due. I do want to look before the last 4 or 5 minutes here before we have to get out of here. I do want to talk about this match thing coming up on Tuesday with you. All right, so it's at the Reserve at Moonlight Basin. I used to have a place out there. I just wasn't good enough for me. Par 72, 8,000 yards on the nose. Wow. I just pulled it up. If anybody's ever checked out the website, moonlightbasin.com, I would encourage you to do so. So like right now, gosh, I guess we could squeeze it. I have to call the wife. We could probably squeeze it in. They have some homes out there starting around 4.9-ish, 3.5 on the lakeside. I guess we could probably do that.
I've heard it's a really tough neighborhood.
This place looks absolutely incredible. I just pulled it up. Like you said, Moonlight Basin.
I mean, I don't know if this is like a movie that they're filming out here. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but you got to have a lot of damn money to go anywhere close to this area of the country. Literally the cheapest real estate, the cheapest homes for sale is just this teeny little cottage for $775,000. It is all of 502 square feet. So yeah, probably not going to be anywhere that I'll be living anytime, at least in the next few months or so.
Yeah, tomorrow.
But this, have you looked at the course, Scott, at all?
I'm looking at it now. This place, the air looks crisp at Moonlight Basin.
Well, it's Montana. It's true.
That's some fresh air.
Yes, that's true. That's what happens out west. They're only about 10,000 feet in the air out there.
Yeah,
pal.
wow.
That's my first thought when I look at pictures too. That air looks great.
I'm telling you, I've never seen air like that. What channel is this going to be on?
I believe it's going to be
TNT. I believe.
Yes.
TNT.
Turner's been doing all of these matches. So I don't know if it's a TNT, TBS, True TV, whatever it may be.
I just want to see the images of this. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think even more impressive than the last one we did at Paynes Valley. The Tiger played in with Justin Rose, Justin Thomas, and Rory. That place was pretty impressive, and one of those kind of out there places. But wow, Moonlight Basin looks phenomenal. So I think it's going to be really entertaining. I think solely from the Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady standpoint, I mean, both of those guys are pretty good at talking some trash. Obviously Phil is great at it. We see it all the time, very tongue in cheek, and Tom Brady. Especially in the social media sense. I don't know if you saw, I was impressed. Tom Brady was calling these guys out, made like 3 30-footers in a row, had a video up on Instagram. But those guys we've seen them in this match scenario before and have been really entertaining. I think it'll be a fun break from our normal programming, so to speak.
I think it's going to be great. And by the way, if you do buy a house out there for 11 million, whatever, they will let you play on the golf course. It is a Jack Nicklaus golf course, so that's probably why they're there.
I'm true, and I'm looking. I just found like the yardage book now online. It is going to be long. The ball it's going to travel a long way out there. I mean, even though it's 8,000 yards, it's going to play a lot shorter due to how elevated they are.
This is great radio. We're all just staring at our screens. We can't believe what we're seeing here.
But it is on TNT. It's primetime TNT on the 6th. So
nice.
Tuesday?
Big Sky. There's a show called Big Sky.
Jack Nicklaus makes very beautiful golf courses. He's not, I talk about architecture a lot here. Not my favorite architect by any means, but he is Jack Nicklaus, and he has shown a passion for golf course architecture and has built a huge golf course architecture business. So I think with land like that in Big Sky, Montana, it'd be hard to mess it up. So very anxious to see what it looks like. I'm sure on camera it looks great, but sometimes you get some courses. The Arnold Palmer Design Group, same way. You got this big name, they're just slapping their name on it, and it's going to be a very basic golf course. So hopefully that's not the case, and the pictures seem like that is certainly not the case.
Slapping the bass, man. By the way, quick story about Jack Nicklaus that has nothing to do with Jack Nicklaus, but one of my best friends, he was a college roommate of mine, Nick Godwin. His name is Nicholas Godwin, actually, but it's Nick Klaus, Nicklaus, named after Jack Nicklaus. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Yeah, Nick Klaus, but we call him Gotti. No one ever calls him Nick Klaus.
I bet Craig, who regularly comments.
Oh, yeah, Craig. Yeah, it's his cousin.
Yeah, he probably knew that.
Yeah, well, I would assume. He might not. I don't know. Craig, if you didn't know that, there you go. No, he's half the battle. Scott, I hope you have a awesome 4th of July weekend. We know that the place is going to be booked up out there. It's supposed to be a pretty nice weekend. It's actually going to be a little bit cooler this weekend. So that's going to be great for golf if you want to get out there. And remember, the breeze blows at Stono, man. So head to the original Hollywood, South Carolina, stonoferrygolf.com to book those tee times right now. They'll all be gone before long, but luckily Scotty's been kind enough to open some up to all of you. So thank him. Buy him a Coca-Cola or something out there. Scott, thanks for everything that you do for us. We really, truly appreciate it. We're obviously off next week for vacation. I'm headed up to Maggie Valley, and Darren is headed to the pool. And then we'll be back on July the 12th. So we'll certainly look forward to catching up with you that week. But as always, thank you so much, my friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Y'all have a great vacation, great holiday weekend. Everybody come out and see us this weekend. Wear some patriotic gear. I might give some stuff away if you're really red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I like that. What are you giving away? Like drivers or a golf cart?
I don't know about a driver, but hey, we might be able to maybe some good Stono Ferry swag, some passes maybe to come back in the future, something like that. So do it up. Let's really get really red, white, and blued out this weekend.
Yeah, blew it out. Instead of blow it out, blew it out. That's what I'm talking about. Go get yourself a free tee out there at Stono Ferry for wearing that beautiful red, white, and blue, and more golf balls maybe. By the way, because of your kindness, for allowing us to go out there and play golf, I did purchase well over $100 worth of golf balls from your pro shop.
Nice. Well,
Figured I'd give back.
Not because you're losing them. It's because of God's kindness.
Oh, no. I didn't hit those out there. They're like, hey, can I use that? The guy who was riding with me, one of them. Yeah, you got any extra balls? Can I buy a sleeve off you? I was like, no. Are you kidding me? Dude, hit those crappy ones. You're going to hit them in the water anyways. But anyways, have a great weekend, Scotty. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Later, man.
We are all out of time. Air Church takes us to Independence Day. Thanks to John Whittle, Grace Raynor, Scott Glaze, Dan McDonald, Tony Skoll, Mike Uva, Ralph Sibiteri, and everybody in between that we had on this week. What a great week. Darren and I will be back on July the 12th. We're going to take a nice long Independence Day vacation.
Siesta.
Darren, as always, thank you so much. Have a wonderful time with your daughter and your wife, and I look forward to seeing you in about 10 days, okay?
Have a good one.
I'm headed to the mountains, folks. We'll see you on Monday, July 12th. This has been the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Happy 4th of July.